Hello and welcome. My name is Joe Tynan and I hope you will enjoy this short presentation entitled Beatification Remembered. On Sunday the 6th of October 1996, Edmund Rice was beatified in Rome. A married man, a young widower, a lone parent of a daughter with special needs, the founder of two religious congregations, the Presentation Brothers and the Christian Brothers, Edmund opened his heart fully to Christ present and appealing to him in the poor. Today we remember his compassion, his courage, and his love for the weakest ones. In a while, we will browse through some images and sounds of the celebrations in Rome. Brother Jim Donovan will share some insights into the legacy of Edmund Rice. And then we will hear from Colette Carney, who teaches in Mount Sion in Waterford. But first, I invite Monica O'Reilly to lead us into a quiet space to help us to relax, to reflect, and to be open.
Thank you, Joe. So conscious of being gathered this evening, connected to one another as followers of Edmund Rice. We're here to celebrate as one family, brothers, colleagues, and friends who have been inspired by the life of Blessed Edmund. We take an opportunity now to withdraw into our own personal space for a few moments reflection. So I invite you, as you sit in your chair, to place your feet firmly on the floor and notice the solid ground beneath. Check how your body is feeling this evening. To release tension, lift your shoulders up and drop them down. And close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. Take a moment to draw in a deep breath, sensing it as you feel your lungs expanding and your body filling with life-giving air. Very slowly release your breath and feel yourself relaxing. Notice your scattered energy gathering and centering as you become more quiet. Gently breathe in and out for a few moments with awareness of the gift of breathing. Consciously draw in 3 more calming breaths. Slowly in for a count of 4 and slowly exhale for a count of 4. Second time. Finally, 1 more breath for a count of 4. And exhale for a count of 4. become aware of the breath of God all around us, which is breathing through us with every breath. With intention, breathe in God's Spirit, becoming aware as you do that the breath you are breathing is the same breath that God breathed in Blessed Edmund and in all those who are connected and have been connected through his Spirit. So we breathe as one for a few moments, uniting our work and ministry and lives in unison with all who carry or have carried the dream of Blessed Edmund over the years. So I invite you to leave this quiet time gently and come back into the presence of one another.
Today is really a beautiful day and a great day in the life of the congregation of Christian Brothers and the Presentation Brothers.
And also it's so wonderful here to see the Edmund Rice family from all parts of the world and taking part in this celebration. So it really takes us back into the past and brings us forward into the future again.
At the age of 17, he began a career in business at Waterford, a river port in the southeast. He prospered and married at the age of 25, a man of prayer and acceptance of God's will. He helped the poor in many ways. He was especially concerned for the young boys who, because of the penal conditions of the time, were growing up uneducated of their faith. Inspired by the pastoral letter of Bishop Hussey on Catholic education, Edmund wound up his business and opened his first school in a stable in Waterford in 1802. Edmund was a strong, rounded personality, intelligent and practical, his prime motivation was spiritual. He was remarkable for his trust in divine providence, his love of the Eucharist, his spirit of prayer, his patience under trial, and his unselfish dedication to the poor. A contemplative in action, he worked untiringly for the spiritual and human dignity of those he sought to help. Worn out by his labors, Edmund resigned as Superior General in 1838 and died at Mount Sion, Waterford, in 1844, venerated for his holiness of life and his extraordinary love of the poor. Today, his spiritual sons and associates continue his mission in over 400 foundations in 30 countries.
It may seem strange that I'm here as an Anglican priest at the beatification of now Blessed Edmund Ignatius Rice. But I was educated by the Christian Brothers in the 1960s at Armagh Green Park Grammar School. That influence of Christian education from the Brothers that endorsed my faith in many ways has led me to Rome. The other interesting fact that I found out that Edmund Rice was a merchant who would have dealt with seafarers. I've come to the city of the fishermen, and my ministry now is dealing with seafarers from across the world, and hopefully that foundation of Christian teaching from the Brothers has given me an open mind to deal with a vast range of seafarers of faiths and cultures, and hopefully I would like to carry on the tradition that was left with me by the Christian Brothers.
Derek Keogh, the biographer of Edmund Rice, gave a talk about Edmund Rice's legacy on the 6th of October this year. These are some of the points that he made. Edmund Rice showed remarkable resilience in responding to the many challenges that faced him in his lifetime. His faith in providence kept him going. The two congregations, the Presentation Brothers and the Christian Brothers, have faced serious challenges in the 25 years since the beatification of Edmund in 1996. They have demonstrated the same resilience that characterized Edmund's life, intent on their mission of bringing about a better world. There was a pandemic in Edmund's lifetime, the typhoid outbreak in 1815. The brothers responded by making their schools available as temporary hospitals. The COVID pandemic today has highlighted the growing inequality in our world, as seen in the vaccine rollout that is favoring hugely the developed world at the expense of poorer countries. The Presentation Brothers and the Christian Brothers are currently working together as Edmund Rice International in Geneva, with a current focus on the vaccine rollout inequality.
Hello everybody, my name is Colette Carney and I am a teacher in Mount Sion CBS in the heart of Waterford City. And as you know, Mount Sion CBS is the founding school of the Edmund Rice Network. What I'm going to do for the next 5 minutes is just talk you through the journey that we've been on as a school and how we used Edmund's principles to guide us through a very, very tough time. Here we have our school, which is still very much serving the original community that Edmund would have seen over 200 years ago. It is a beautiful community made up of wonderful families, and they certainly are still experiencing disadvantage. I have taught in the school for close on 22 years, and in that time, I suppose I've seen many different families coming in with different levels of poverty possibly and educational disadvantage. There'll be a history of early school leavers and sometimes a history of high unemployment in the area. But for us, we were on our own remarkable journey in Mount Sion, and this leads on to my next slide, which I refer to as the perfect storm. So over 10 years ago, we were due a new school build, and life is looking very rosy for us in Mount Sion. And with the demise of the Celtic Tiger, sadly, our dream of a new school was demolished, and along with that went a catastrophic loss of numbers in the school. Due to that loss of numbers, we also had a big redeployment quota taken from our school. So we went from a school that were full of positivities, full of hopes, full of dreams, to suddenly a school that was left in disrepair. And even sadder, I suppose, was that staff morale was really on the floor. But what we did is we looked to Edmund Rice and we looked to his guiding principles, and we said to ourselves, what did Edmund teach us that we can apply to this situation? And the first guiding principle that really Edmund taught us all is that inspirational leadership or transformational leadership is key to getting a community back together again. And a wonderful man by the name of John McCardle from Dundalk came along as a principal at that time. And John took us together as a much smaller staff, much smaller numbers, and said, don't look at anybody else. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. We can only be what we can be. And in many ways, we just isolated ourselves so we could start to repair ourselves and start to build back up our morale. John was fantastic in his hiring of people in the school. He really hired great teachers who also believed in the values of Edmund Rice. And at each point along the way, he said to us, let's not worry about all the inspection reports and comparing ourselves to other schools, even within the network, because it just didn't do us any favors. And the big picture seemed too bleak. So by focusing on the small picture, it made us very mindful just of the situation that we were in. Edmund Rice was also a great man for forming partnerships. And here are just two examples of the partnerships that we formed. One summer, we had a full day transformation in the school where we painted every classroom, we laid new floors, we painted a mural, and we were able to do that with the help of the Australian Edmund Rice schools. They all came together, they did fundraisers for us, and although they were half a world away, they were certainly in our hearts on that day, and they helped us to transform the school. Not only did we transform the school, but we were slowly starting to get our sense of ourselves back and our sense of community. And that was such a special day. We also were guided along the way by a wonderful pharmaceutical company called Genzyme, and they helped us to transform our yards. We had no PE facilities. The kids only had dirt yards to play on. And you have to remember as well, because Mount Sinai is in the city location, many of the kids don't even have gardens to play in. So we had these dirt yards for these wonderful children, and it wasn't good enough. And we raised 70,000 euros actually. We transformed our 2 yards into a beautiful astro pitch and a gym. And we felt always along the way, it was as if Edmund was guiding us. And the principles that he had taught, we were able to map our way along with Edmund guiding us. And the most important thing is that we created this caring and compassionate school community. And as John moved from his role as principal, another wonderful principal took over by the name of Edward Kennedy, and he's now our current principal. And as our community embraced what we had become, so we had been in the highs of the nearly 600 in the 1980s, we'd gone down to 175, and we slowly started to creep back up because people were actually attracted to the Edmund Rice ethos, and I suppose that we were being very genuine about who we were. If you've ever been on the monastery, you might recognize this room. So this is what was called the ship room, and the ship room is on the top floor of the monastery, and it is the most beautiful room I think I've ever seen. On the floor there you have these incredible paintings of the globe, and then all around that room there are pictures of brothers who went across the world. So Saufeddin is sitting there on his table looking so happy, and Saufeddin is a wonderful boy from Afghanistan, and we have now students from 37 nationalities in our school. We have been awarded the first school of sanctuary in Ireland, and our numbers have grown from 175 to over 400. But really more important than the numbers, I think, is that this network of brothers that went all across the world It's as if now the world has come home to Mount Zion. And here's all the boys standing in the room, and we're just so proud of what we have created in school. But it's as if that room was always meant to have this function. Who was ever to know, whenever this room was built in the last 100 years, that as they put up all these photos of all the brothers that went out into the world, that this room would actually become such a special place for us and for our school community. So I suppose this is what we learned the most, is that Edmund's advice and guidance is ageless. And at every point, his guidance can be applied to different situations. And I suppose someday we will all be history. We will be all part of history. And we can be very proud of the journey that we have been on over the last 10 to 15 years. And we know that Edmund would be very proud of us. And if you have time, you might enjoy this clip of our choir. Our school choir have a huge following, and we've over 10 million views on our YouTube channel. But this is just a beautiful clip of the parting glass. And it's just an example of how Mount Zion has reached out to people across the world, because for us, music surpasses all languages. You could sit and listen to some of the videos on our YouTube channel. It doesn't matter what language you speak, you could still enjoy the music, and you'd still know that this is at the heart of Mount Zion and what Edmund Rice stands for. Thank you very much.
Of all the money that e'er I had, I spent it in good company, and all the harm that e'er I done, alas, it was too late but me. And all I've done for want of wit to lend me now I can't recall. So fill to me the parting glass. Good night and joy be with you all. Of all the comrades that e'er I had, they are sorry for my going away, and all the sweethearts that e'er I had, they would wish me one more day to stay. But since it falls unto my lot that I should rise and you should not, I'll gently rise and softly call. Good night and joy be with you all. Good night and joy be with you all.
The story of Blessed Edmund Rice, the dream of Blessed Edmund Rice, continues today in the lives of women and men, girls and boys all over our beautiful and fragile planet. In the face of climate crisis, injustice and indifference, they are inspired by Edmund's resilient faith, hope and love. We conclude our reflection with joyful music and images, including an icon written by Brother Dennis Gleeson of Edmund with his daughter Mary by his side, and at his heart a flame of love, reminding us of Edmund's prayer, "Live Jesus in our hearts forever."
in human heart embodied, the God of love and truth. We tell the sacred story, we sing the glory of yesterday. We tell the sacred story, one who has shown us the sacred way. Who are they, like stars that shine and glimmer in the night, lighting the way of time, the promised sign, so few will take to flight. Lighting the way of time, on all will shine, the dawn of God's own light.